G'day you beautiful bastards. Today I'm going to give you some beginner's tips for Paragon. We're just generally going to go over everything in the game, but if you do go on to find this helpful at all, please drop a like on this video as it is extremely helpful, and subscribe if you aren't already. So to start off with, what I should say is that when you get to the main menu of Paragon, you should click on the thumbnail in regards to the beginner's tips from the Paragon dev team themselves. It'll link you to a YouTube video and it's extremely helpful. So watch that, then jump into a solo versus AI match, have a little mess around, and you can quit at any time, so it's not really too much of a time waster. And then get straight into it, which is what we're going to do right here. So to start off with, when you first get into the match, you are going to be given the option to choose your first ability by holding L2. I can't really tell you which ability to choose because it depends on what character you are using and what role you intend to take, so that is entirely up to you. You will get used to it as time goes on, and as I do videos on certain characters, I will let you know what my recommendations are. The second thing you're going to do, which I clearly didn't do here, is press your touchpad if you're on the PlayStation. Not sure what button it is on any other console or PC, and you're going to pick your deck and press square to confirm. Now this game runs off of XP for your level, which will allow you to choose an upgrade for an ability or a new ability, and then CXP or card power for your cards, which you're going to put on the whole way through the game, and you're going to max out at 60. You will get used to this very easily. There is a sort of tutorial system in the way of suggestions as you go, and we'll go over that in another video anyway. But to start off with, that beautiful thing there is your core. You need to protect that at all costs, and the last line of defense are these three things here, which are your inhibitors. When they're destroyed, they supply the enemy team with super minions, which will just barrel their way down the lanes. Defending those inhibitors are your inner towers, and then defending those towers are your outer towers, your first line of defense, and where you're going to spend the majority of your time, hopefully, because we don't want you having your towers taken out and being pushed back too far, do we? So we're going to push up here, and we're going to start laning. Okay, so the main thing to keep in mind when you are laning is that when you're fighting these little minions that are around the place, they are your main source of XP. That is where you're getting all your levels from, and that's where you're getting all your card power from. To get yourself more XP and card power, you want to make sure that you get the last hit on them, so when you hit them, they die. You will get up, I think it's around about 160 card power from a last hit, and you'll get about it's either 10 or 20 for a for just assisting in a kill on a minion. Okay, so that's pretty much everything to do with fighting the minions themselves. So what their jobs are, this tower that I'm standing on, if the enemy team wants to attack this tower, they need to get their minions on there first to gain aggro from the tower so they don't get hit by it, and then they're going to attack the tower. So what we want to do is the complete opposite. We want to attack these minions and slowly push ours further and further forward. What I'm actually doing at the moment is just freezing off my lane, so that I can control all the XP that I get, and I can just keep them off my tower, and they're just constantly coming at me, and it causes the opposition to not be able to farm your minions quite as easily, because they've got to push right up on your tower to do so, and it also allows you the ability to get out of dodge if you get ganked or back raged or whatever you want to call it. It just gives you a safety barrier where you only just have to back up a little bit. So if I was any further forward there and I was playing against actual real people, because I'm in an AI match here, just to show you the go, I would have been dead. Just straight up would have been dead. So that is one thing to definitely keep in mind. Now, another thing that is very helpful is the combo system. So on PS4 you use L1 to open it up, and then there's a bunch of different options which also open up different options. So for instance, to say that you're on your way to the left hand lane, you want to press L1 circle square. If you want to say that you're on your way to the right lane, it's L1 circle square circle. If you want to say good job, it's L1 circle X. You'll get used to all that, but one thing that you should definitely try to do is just get used to what comments are attached to what button combinations, so that you can just do it on the fly and not have to look at anything. You just quickly spam it, whether it be, you know, circle square to say you're on your way left, so that someone knows that they're getting back up, or L1X circle to say to defend right lane. Just makes things a lot easier. The more that you and your team communicate, the better you're going to do. Okay, so that pretty much covers everything you're going to need to know while you are in the lane. The only other thing that I can suggest is get used to using wards. Wards are the most useful thing in the entire game. Unfortunately, I don't even have any footage of them because I was just messing around. But we'll talk about it a little bit later anyway. So here we are attacking this tower. So if you look underneath the health bar of the tower, it has how many minions are on there from your side of the field. Once it gets down to about 2 or 1, you want to just back off, because the tower is going to attack you like it did there. But that's the general gist of it. That is what your job is as a laner. It's just to push your minions forward, keep their minions back, make your way to the tower, and eventually start destroying some things. As I get sniped by that AI Murdoch, who is just well in the jungle there. Okay, so the next thing that we should probably talk about, just a little bit, we'll talk about your cards. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be using a pre-made deck when you first start the game. Now, it'll give you a brief description on it, whether it's a tank build, a physical damage build, you know, a caster's build, whatever it is. But this one thing here, this harvester key, is extremely useful. Don't be afraid to put that on, even if you don't end up using this key on the harvester yourself. It is so much better off having a few people that are a tiny little bit weaker because they're holding harvester keys, than to have an entire team of people that are not holding harvester keys. It takes you about 30 seconds to plan a harvester. It takes you about 3 to 5 seconds when you have a harvester key. Okay, so that there is a scout's ward in the top left hand corner. That is good enough at the start of the game. You will have other things like the brawler's ward, which is on the middle in the right hand side there, which gives you 2 and they're invisible. But then you'll just choose a card, and each card will have 3 upgrade slots on it for the main cards, and once they get 3 cards attached to them, you'll get a huge buff. So you want to work towards fully upgrading a card one at a time, but we'll talk about decks in another video. So here you can see the ridiculous amount of time it takes to actually plant a harvester. I've been going for a little bit now. It takes about 30 seconds, and it is a total and utter waste of time. Having this harvester key would have made this so much easier, but I thought I would do this just to show you exactly how annoying it is when you have no one with harvester keys. So we'll move on now. Excuse me. We'll move on and I'll show you how long it takes when you are actually using a harvester key. And as you can see, it's a ridiculously short amount of time compared to how long it just took me before. But that is harvesters. Don't underestimate how important harvesters are. Like, if you go say a good 10-20 minutes without any harvesters on, and your enemy team has like 4 harvesters up and have completely filled them up and harvested them like you've seen me do there, they will be so far ahead of you, it's not funny. Okay, so that should generally be the jungler's job, and this is one of the camps that the jungler will have to deal with, and this is a white camp. It's purely for XP, and as you can see, he's a level 3. They will start off with a spawn timer. They will spawn as level 1, and then once they've spawned, that timer will actually be going again. Once it finishes, they'll rank up to level 2, and it'll go again, and then they'll rank up to level 3. So obviously you get more XP, they're a little bit tougher, much more worthwhile when they're at 3. And then the next thing in the jungle that the jungler will have to worry about is the blue camp. So the blue camp will give you mana regen, which is extremely helpful, and it'll also give you a quicker cooldown on your abilities. I'll just quickly take this guy out so you can see the buff itself. They can be incredibly tanky at the very start of the match, One thing that it is good to do with the blue and red buffs is if you want them at the start of the match. So if you're some sort of caster and you want one at the start of the match, just call out attack blue buff and then I need help, and someone should come over and give you a hand. But there's the blue buff on the floor there, so you just pick that up. You will get a cooldown reduction and energy regen. So we'll move on over to the red buff, which is another good one for the junglers to get at the start of the match. Just if you are intending to run the jungle, I strongly recommend that you tell everyone to attack red buff and ask for help. At least one person will come over, make it a little bit easier for you to get it. You'll get it quicker and you can be on your way in the jungle, just demolishing everything. But we will talk about jungling in another video. I'll put out a video on how to be a professional jungler. I do like the jungle. So we destroy this guy here, we get the red buff, and we get attack bonus and movement speed on hit, which means that if you are chasing someone down and you are just attacking them as they run off, you will actually be a little bit faster than them, which is great. It helps when you're going for the ganks. We'll just destroy that guy there and level up, and then you see the flames coming off of your abilities on the right. That is it telling you to hold L2 to upgrade one of your abilities. And this is the black camp. The black camp is a buff that allows you to do damage over time to structures. It allows you to do 3 ticks of damage at 150 damage per tick. So it's just so useful if you are in the enemy jungle taking out their harvester, or you're attacking a tower and inhibitor. Just allows you to do so much more damage, get in there, get it done and get out quickly. But we were a little bit distracted when we started there and we're low health, so I'm just going to pop back. Excuse me, I'm not well. Pop back to spawn and come back again and finish this guy off and pick up that black buff, and I'll actually go over to the enemy's harvester just to show you those ticks. But while we wait for that to happen, just one thing: if you are the jungler, just remember that you've called out that you're going to be a jungler. No one else is doing that. So if you spend the first sort of 20 minutes, half hour of a match not even going into the jungle, you have level 3 camps all over the place that are waiting to be destroyed so that they can regen back up to rank 3. You also have harvesters that aren't being put down. You're a massive detriment to your team if you're not doing that, because if you're not in there farming yourself, that means you're in a lane and you're stealing someone else's XP off of minions, and that's not cool. You're pretty much then normally you would have one guy in the jungle, 3 on a lane, and 1 sharing a lane or helping out or taking the other side of the jungle. So if you're taking up a space on one of those lanes, you're pretty much halving everyone's XP, and that is not good for your team. So just keep that in mind as we go to try and gank this little guy here, which does not happen. So this here is the enemy inhibitor. When we destroy this, as I said before, we will spawn super minions. It is a lot more tanky than the towers. So we've just waited until our minions came in. We've got 3 of them, 2 of them probably need to back off, but if this was a normal game, I would do exactly what I'd done here, even if I thought I was going to die, because taking this inhibitor down gives my team a humongous advantage. We'll show you those minions in a second when we go back to spawn. But just on that note, do not be afraid to die in Paragon. Dying is part of the game. Do not die because you chased someone through your jungle into their jungle and back into the back end of their end of the map, because it's not help to your team. That's a bad death. But if you die taking out an inhibitor or taking out a tower, which ends up giving your team the 1-up, then good on you, you did well. And they are the super minions right there. They will just barrel their way down a lane. Dying to get these guys up is massive, because they will, instead of the 2 sets of minions coming across and having a stalemate with each other and one slowly pushing up, these guys will just push up and push up and push up and put pressure on the enemy base. They're huge. The last thing we're going to talk about is the purple buff, pink buff, OP buff, whatever you want to call it. It's extremely tanky, and it will do so much damage to you. You want to attack this as a team, so you want to say group up and attack or prime and get your whole team to attack it. One important aspect of the game, which we'll talk about in another video, is to just keep control of this. Not necessarily attack it all the time, but make sure that you control it. Have wards in the general area so you know if the enemy team's attacking it. A great way to get the one up on them when they're actually going for all prime is to know that they're there and come in when they're half health or low health because they've been attacking this big guy, and just demolish them, finish off all prime, take it for yourself. So we'll have to actually switch over to some gameplay from an actual game that I played just to show you all prime. But in general, if you look at the map right there, on the right hand side of the map there are two little lumps sticking out, sort of bottom middle and top middle. If we were to take this orb prime now and take it to top middle, which on the right hand side, that is on the enemy side of the field, that will give us OP buff. Okay, so OP buff is one of the 3 cards that are connected to your deck that either give you extra energy damage if you deal energy damage, and that will also give you extra damage from your minions to structures. You can either get an extra 1000 health and extra health for your minions, or extra physical damage and extra damage from your minions to minions. So right here, if you look on the map, our right hand inhibitor has been taken out. So my team cleverly called out to go and attack Orb Prime. We all attacked Orb Prime, and instead of taking it to the blue flashing symbol, which is on the top left, which would give us the buff, the OP buff. So just remember that the blue section will always give you the OP buff. The orange section is where the enemy wants to take it for a buff, but it's where we want to take it to fix our structures. So we have to choose to either become more powerful or fix our structures, and it's just been dunked, and you see the inhibitor on the right hand side is now fixed. So that is a wonderful thing. Just something that you definitely have to do. The moment that you lose an inhibitor, you start off in a massive advantage, because you are going to have super minions just barreling down your end of the field. You want to get that OP buff, you want to work together as a team, and you want to get it into your area as quick as possible. Similarly, if you take out their inhibitor, just keep in mind that they're probably going to be going for OP buff. So if it seems like no one's around after you've taken out their inhibitor, they're probably at OP buff. And if they're not, you want to get a ward there so that you can see them the moment they do attack it. Come in as a group and just demolish them while they're all half health and attacking OP buff. And then grab it for yourself. Either attempt to take it to their end of the field to dunk it and you get OP buff, or just take it back into your spawn and let the timer run out. Because if the timer runs out, that guy's not just going to respawn. It's going to be... I can't remember exactly what the timer is on OP buff, but it is huge. It's like 10 minutes. It's like, I think it's 9 minutes at the moment. I think it used to be 12. I'm not 100% certain, but it is a long time. Within that space of time, they'll be having one person defend the lane that has the super minions in it, and then they'll only have sort of 2 on either of the lanes, and you will have numbers on them. You'll have a massive advantage. But that is pretty much it. As I said, just work your way, inch your minions forward. Don't, one thing I didn't touch on is don't be afraid to retreat, okay? So if you keep yourself safe, if you have to retreat and go back into the safety of a tower and then go back to base by holding R3 to teleport back to base and get yourself strong again, or to put some extra cards on and come back, that's huge. Like if you push your stuff forward a little bit, push your minions forward a little bit, and then say, stuff it, I'm getting low health, I'm going to retreat, and then while the enemy is just trying to clean up and push back towards your tower, you go back, get full health, get full mana, put some extra cards on, get stronger, and then come back again and just get straight up in his face, you are going to be doing so much better. So technically you want to stay alive, clearly, as much as possible. You want to go back to base whenever it is safe. Tell your team that you're going back to base, tell them to defend it while you're gone, but like I said, do not be afraid to die. People are going to hassle you because you died, but do not be afraid to die for a good cause. if you're taking out a tower and say the enemy team has taken none of your towers, you have taken all their front towers, and you die as you take one of their middle towers, like their inner tower. That to me, that is fine. Good job. I'm proud of you. You're a good teammate. It would have been better if you had wards out and you knew that they were coming and you maybe got out of there and came back and did it later, but chances are they would defend that a little bit stronger. So don't be afraid to die to take a tower, or definitely to take an inhibitor. If you die taking an inhibitor, you're a god. I don't care what anyone says, you did well. The only problem is with deaths is that the respawn time gets longer as you go, but keeping you out of the game for a minute and a half when you've just taken an inhibitor out, as long as they don't get OP buff, that is fine. That is fine by me. I'm always happy with that. But that's pretty much all the basics there. So I hope that was helpful. I'll be doing some deck building videos in the future. I'll do a jungle video and a proper laning video. But that's all I've got for you for right now. So if you did find it helpful, please leave a like. It's hugely helpful to my channel. Subscribe if you are not already for more Paragon content. Leave a comment if you have any questions or anything to add if you do know a little bit more than me. Keep in mind I am a little bit of a noob at this game. But yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I love your face, man, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.